Cafe. Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome. There's 4 welcomes for you for episode 2384. 2384.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast on the day that I would hope would last forever and ever because it was such a gas. Let me tell you, I never take a day off. And I took a day off today. It was so nice. It was so relaxing. And if you want to do this more often, be my guest, and that'd be good. It's good to do that because
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I wasted time in a big way. You sometimes need to waste some time. And you know what?
Mike's
I also
Daily
did a little bit of research for you.
Podcast.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, what did I do here today? I found out what happened on a show that I used to watch when I was a kid in 1978. From 78 to 79, there was a television show called Project UFO. And I had not watched that show since I was a kid, and it was basically made because right after Star Wars, everybody was like, oh my gosh, science fiction. And I forget if Close Encounters came out before that show or not, but it probably came before, and that's why television always follows the movies. Hey, this was a big movie. Well, it used to do that. Nowadays, movies are on TV because we stream at home. We're starting to go out to the movie theaters to see very important movies like the latest Jackass movie, that kind of thing, because that's what we are as a society. Experimental, I guess. Okay. At any rate, the thing, not to criticize you for your viewing habits, but I will say that I was watching, speaking of Project, if you ever see Project UFO, they've uploaded the episodes.
And here's today's podcast picture.
That's what I'm trying to find out right now, A-Frame. Thank you for reminding me. I tried to take a picture of... this didn't really come out. Last night, near where I live in Podcastro Valley, there were a bunch of frogs riveting... croaking away is what they were doing. And that was pretty interesting, but I tried to take a picture. It was in the nighttime, and it did not come out, so that won't work. But I will pick a recent picture for you. See it at MikesDailyPodcast.com. It sadly will not have the late great Basil the Boxer, but I did go to this spot. We called it the Meadow. And when Basil was having a tough time walking towards the end of his life, we'd go to the Meadow, and he suddenly had this amazing power of walking around. It was his field of dreams. There was another place, too, we would go to close by, but this spot, the Meadow, we went to quite a bit. And around my birthday in 2019, he couldn't walk. His back legs wouldn't work anymore because of the degenerative myelopathy. And somehow we walked about 2 miles to get to the Meadow-ish, with me holding up his back legs using a harness that I found on Amazon. We got all the way to the Meadow. I could not believe that. That was the last time we really traveled a long distance together. But he wanted to go to that Meadow, and we went there, and then he plopped down and just laid there, and it was dark at this point because this is around November, just before my birthday, and I looked up in the night sky, and there were all the beautiful stars and constellations, Orion, Big Dipper, and I, last night, looked up in the sky. I was in the Meadow at night, listening to the frogs, which Basil would probably have barked at. And I was all alone there on the Meadow, and I looked up and I saw the stars, and I felt Basil with me right there, in that beautiful little spot. But see the picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com, and I did post a podcast picture of Basil recently, so you can see that as well. But Project UFO 1978 to 79 was the last major TV show that Jack Webb did. Jack Webb had a string of huge hits. I was told that he got his start in radio in the Bay Area, so we are close to where he is. And by the way, I am in the Bay Area, of course, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth, with all these wonderful people listening to my wonderful stories here today, whatever time you're listening. But he got his big start, did the Jack Webb Dragnet series. Harry Morgan, this is her. No, can't do Harry Morgan's voice. It's one of a kind voice, of course. Was he Colonel Potter on MASH? So Jack Webb was on the radio show, very popular on the radio, then moved into television. I forget what he was a writer for another big TV show, and just a prolific guy. Came up with the TV shows, I think Emergency and Adam 12. He was behind those, and I think SWAT, and those were big in the 70s. But along comes Star Wars, and Jack Webb wants to get wrapped up in the sci-fi world, and to do that, what he does was, because you ever watched Dragnet, dun 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 dun, it's all about telling a story and doing time stamps like Law and Order does. And he would do this sort of time stampy thing, but this time talking about Project Blue Book, which is an actual thing. The Air Force goes out and investigates unidentified flying objects, and there are several reports that he combed through and pulled out ones week to week, and there would be these two guys that would go out and investigate these things. Two people investigating unexplained phenomena. Sounds familiar? Sounds like X-Files. And X-Files drew heavily from that. That came out about, I'd say about 10 to 15 years later. But 1978 to 79, they did 2 seasons, not very long seasons, about 13 episodes each. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. But the show would pretty much always explain the UFOs in a conventional way. Oh, it was ball lightning. Ball lightning. It looks like a UFO. It's when lightning comes down out of the sky like a big ball, and that makes it look like a UFO. That's what you saw. But it like hovered over me for a long time. No, it didn't. You just imagine that because you're wacky. Conventional means. Until I believe there was one episode where the two main characters actually saw a UFO. But it's weird. It's bizarre to watch. It's on YouTube. Not the best quality. Somebody must have VHS'd it and then uploaded it to YouTube at like a low quality. I don't know. Cafe, I don't know. There's another show that I watched, Sam Watterson, also speaking of Law and Order. He was on Law and Order for many years. He was one of the lawyers, the prosecuting attorneys or something. And he was in a show in, I think it was early 80s. That's what I'll say. And it was called QED. Now, we have a radio station in the Bay Area that carries National Public Radio programs, Fresh Air, This American Life, Morning Edition, etc., all things considered. And they are called KQED. But QED is the Greek term for, I think it's quite easily done. That's how they explain it on the show anyway. But it's basically when you say, voila, there you go. It's as easy as that. That was easy. When you figure something out. Oh, that's why the door squeaks. It needs oil. QED. That's the only example I could come up with. So, Sam Watterson's a professor in like 1914, 1912. And it is he is a professor who his initials come out to QED. He's a professor at Harvard. He gets mad at Harvard. He leaves, goes to England. We don't know why, but he just goes to England because I guess that's who was funding the show, was England. And you see a lot of British actors, young British actors who later would become reoccurring or characters on British TV shows later on as they got older. I was able to identify a couple that I saw in Midsummer Murders and a couple other shows. Oh, that's a young version of the guy that I saw in Midsummer Murders. The younger person, when this actor was just starting. So QED is what it's called. And he's a American professor in England solving crimes and mysteries and stuff. And you see he invents things that are going to become bigger later on, like chemical warfare. He invents chemicals that can hurt people. Thank you for doing that, Professor QED. He comes up with a rocket-propelled car. That kind of fun stuff. The first episode, I remember watching it as a kid. Young teenager, I'm watching this show and thinking this is the best thing I've seen on television. Rewatching it now, as in many things, it's lost its luster, and I was, wow. There was no plot line there. The dialogue was awful. They didn't really capitalize on his brilliance at QED and then Sam Waterston as an actor. I don't think he had done Killing Fields at that point, but he was a great actor. He is still a great actor. He's still around and has done many great things. So that all happened on my day off today, and I wanted to share a little thing with you here as I am cooking inside a cafe anyway, but we're outside a cafe anyway, looking at UFOs and such. Do you know what a power bowl is? A power bowl? They are the ultimate convenience meal. They're tasty, nutritious, fast, easy. They can be served for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're also adaptable and easily customized to suit picky eaters or those with dietary restrictions. Best of all, power bowls often rely on leftovers or readily available pantry items. They're sometimes called grain or Buddha bowls. They have 5 components: a base, a protein. That's something that was once an animal. Veggies or fruit, a small amount of healthy fat, and a garnish. Now, the base is the bulk of the bowl, and it's usually grain. But it could be potatoes, noodles, greens. For another vegetable, or yogurt, if it's a breakfast thing. Or a lunch bowl, yogurt can count as both a base and a protein. The protein, either plant or animal-based protein, they say here, such as shredded or cubed meat, lentils or beans, eggs, fresh fish or fish from a can, like sardines, tofu or mackerel, tofu or tempeh, all good choices. And then the vegetable or fruit, they make a large part of the bowl. Aim for a mix of fresh and cooked, like crunchy salad ingredients, roasted or steamed fresh or frozen vegetables. The same goes for fruit. Combine fresh berries or sliced melon with stewed fruit or applesauce. Interesting. Wow. I gotta press rewind and listen to what I just said, because that's fantastic. Then the thin dressing often make up the fat element. You can try guacamole, hummus, homemade mayonnaise. Homemade mayonnaise? No. I have tried to make homemade mayonnaise. Not very easy. But maybe I just had the wrong recipe. Yogurt, non-dairy beverages, milk, or a dash of infused oil or cheese instead. And then a garnish. Add crunch or visual appeal for more taste with fresh sprouts, seeds or nuts, herbs, dried coconut, olives, pickles, or fermented veggies, salsa, or a sprinkle of nutritional yeast. Have you tried nutritional yeast? It adds something. I don't know what it is, but it adds some flavor to stuff. So there you go. For breakfast, you could have cooked oatmeal. It can be topped with almond butter, chia or hemp seeds, fresh or dried fruit, a drizzle of maple syrup. That sounds good to me. Top yogurt with a scoop of peanut butter, sliced bananas, granola, flaxseed, coconut flakes, chia seeds. Top leftover potatoes with scrambled tofu or a poached egg, black beans, avocado slices, salsa, and a sprinkle of cheese. And for lunch or dinner, you could do a bed of kale because kale's kind of, it's kind of that crunchy green. Or you can do spinach. It can be topped with last night's leftover stir fry and rice. Maybe you got some edamame, peanut sauce, sesame seeds. Sesame seeds. They got some omega-3 in that too, right? Like the avocado and the sardines. So top quinoa or brown rice with tofu, chickpeas, fresh cucumbers, marinated artichoke hearts. I've been meaning to get those lately. Feta cheese, tzatziki dressing. That stuff is delicious. Cooked pasta as a base for grilled chicken, arugula. Arugula's got that kind of that bitter taste to it, that type of lettuce. That's wonderful and so healthy for you. Red peppers, goat cheese, capers, and a drizzle of balsamic glaze. I don't use salad dressing anymore. It's only balsamic vinegar. I love that. Just add that to anything and it's marvelous. So, that's all from the Costco Connection, written by Laura Langston. She writes and cooks in the Pacific Northwest. That's my plug for Costco. Here's my slug. His name is Fred. Fred the Slug. How are you, Fred the Slug? You sound a little like Bison Bentley. No, I don't. You know that? Well, Fred the Slug, everybody. That was my slug. Okay. I really dread going to Costco. I guess that's my slug. Hey, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Look who's here.
Hello, Mike Matthews. I'm Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. What a really informative podcast, Mike Matthews.
Thank you. Hey, I just saw an interesting, that's always good when you get a little bit of a praise like that. It's a little shot of, you're doing good. Keep going. Good on you. That kind of thing. It says here that the biggest regrets from new homeowners. Well, I can tell you as a homeowner, there's the whole thing of it really sucks when you don't have your heat on, or your water heater goes out, or other things, leaks, pipe issues, leaks from the roof. 40% of owners surveyed, this is from Clever. Clever said that maintaining their own property, that's a real estate website, by the way, that maintaining their own property was too much of a hassle and definitely a major cause of regret. Lacking features, hidden costs, high mortgage and interest, poor location, depreciating value were all key points of regret for recent home buyers who attributed their decision to poor pre-purchase research. I will tell you, I do not like the fact that there are buses that go by my house. And it has been that case. So I bought the house, and then I realized that buses go by my house. And though the buses are some kind of gas, special type of gas, do they run on natural gas? I don't know. There's enough of them that go by my house every day for over a decade now, I should know. But they do have like a less sound. But sometimes it is a louder sound because, well, maybe they got a honk. Or maybe they're accelerating and it makes or they're hitting their brakes and it makes a loud noise. And I didn't know that when I bought the house. I didn't pay attention. So as a future home buyer, pay attention to everything. Somebody once said, see if you can actually stay the night at the house. Which that's like, I don't think that's even possible. But if you spend as much time as you can at the house before you buy it, you get a sense of what it is. But then usually when you're buying a house, in the market that I purchased a house anyway, it was like you got to rush and put the bid on the, put the now I forgot what you call it. The thing where you say, I want the house. Is it the bid? It's the thing that you throw down, not the escrow. God, it's been a long time since I bought a house. And I probably should never buy one again. But there you go. It's like a lot. You're in a rush is what I'm saying. When you say, dang it, I want this house. And then you're usually competing against somebody else. Putting an offer down. There we go. There is the 28-36 rule that experts recommend, and that is don't spend more than 28% of your pre-tax income on housing costs or more than 36% towards debt. Interesting. That from AdWeight and acorns.com. Thank you so much. Okay. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, we're enjoying some delicious Buddha bowls right now. They're really good. Excellent. Well, we're going to eat that and be healthy, and I'm going to stay healthy by enjoying the rest of my weekend and relaxing and having time off, which I suggest to you to do the same if you can. Get some time off and enjoy yourself. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Chime in about anything we covered today. 336MM daily. 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast is. And we will do it again very soon. Thank you. And for more on how to contact me, it's a frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!